Welcome inside Rio Tinto Stadium for the 2010 U19 National Championship. Dusty Lister alongside
Mike Law.
And we are pleased to be bringing this game. Today this game will feature the Highland Rugby team, and they will be taking on the Utah County High School Rugby Football Club. This should be an outstanding game. Highland, as we know, this is a world-renowned team thanks to the movie Forever Strong. And they are obviously the favorites, as they are every year, to win the national championship.
That kick there did not go 10 meters. Every kickoff when you start a game must go 10 meters. Now Union from New Jersey is going to have the opportunity to take a scrum here at the 50-meter line. This is equivalent to a turnover. Okay. You want to minimize turnovers as much as you can.
No, because most fans are going to watch this, Mike. Maybe have watched a couple of games. They've probably seen the movie Forever Strong. They probably saw the new movie came out, Invictus, and maybe a couple of things. They watched the 30 for 30 that was about the 94 Springbok World Cup Championship team. So as we walk through, I might seem a little amateurish in asking questions. Just kind of the explanations for those people who may be watching this simply because it's Highland and want to know a little bit more about what's going on and why things are happening.
Oh, no worries at all. This is a new game for many people in America. You know, rugby has been around for a very long time. America has had a rich tradition in rugby, believe it or not, being the defending gold medalist in the 1924 Olympic Games before the Olympics kicked rugby out of it. The logistics were just a little bit too tough. But as America's coming back into the game, you'll see more and more rugby on TV. This is a great opportunity for these boys to show what they've got. It's exciting to see it.
I think as the exposure gets higher, it obviously becomes more and more interesting. And now Highland going to break out. And out cross, still going, and finally brought down. And you just passed the 22-meter line, and they'll go right back through. Now, as you notice, the play will continue to go. And do you have a stoppage? Is that an offside? Or?
It looks like he called. It looks like he called a forward pass. He's going to give the ball back to Union. When you're moving the ball forward, you cannot throw the ball forward. You can run it forward and you can kick it forward. But any throws must be directly to the side or backwards.
Much like Americanized football. Once the ball has been put in play after a pass, obviously it has to go backwards. It cannot be thrown forward.
Exactly.
And so they'll scrum it. Again, now Union High School should be able to have the advantage since they started the scrum, correct?
Correct, yeah. Usually the team who puts the ball in wins it. Not always the case, depending on if the other team has a stronger pack. And when we say pack, we mean forwards.
Like as you go through the differences, you have forwards and you have backs. Forwards, obviously, you're going to form your lines. They're your bigger, stronger type of guys. And then your backs, obviously, your quicker, more agile type of athlete.
Right. And just like in American football, you have your linemen and you have your specialists.
Now, the Highland rugby team, they are in the black and white numbers, obviously the high school's colors, but also looks a lot like the All Blacks uniforms. They are an absolute dominant team. Now, I remember, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, maybe if you know this, Mike, but I believe this is the 24th year of the National Championship Tournament, and I believe Highlands won 19 championships and only 2 in the U19 category. They won 17 in the high school division.
That's correct. Yep, they've had a very rich tradition. USA Rugby decided a couple years back to divide the national championship into a high school division and an under-19 division. Before that, you saw very epic battles between Highland of Utah and Jesuit of California, and Jesuit has really upped their game.
And that was a turnover there, and it'll be controlled by Union. Union inside I believe that's the 22-meter line of the Highland. I want to call them the Highland Rams. I do high school sports here.
Right.
That's what comes out of it. I want to call them the Highland Rams.
Yeah, very confusing, whereas rugby is just a club sport, not affiliated with the high schools itself.
And we'll have a punt from Union.
Yeah, this is a penalty opportunity, and they really messed it up there. What they were trying to do is get it out of bounds where they would have been able to take a line out, but they didn't quite get it there and gave the ball right back to Highland, minimizing that penalty.
Let me get a kick.
Good kick there, rolling all the way down near the goal line. This is going to pin them deep in their territory. Highland has a chance to counter.
And now you see kind of the strategy, because Highland tried to kick it deep to possibly get the ball back deep inside of Union territory, and Union trying to get it back out to get them away from the try line.
Right. Oh, and we have an overlap here. See what they do with it.
Inside the 22-meter line, got about one man to beat, breaks the tackle, and he's going to score. Try for Highland. That is number 7, Josh Kaczynski, breaking tackles, and he is in for the try. 5-0 to lead to Highland here. 4:20-minute mark for the Highland Football Club.
Highland Rugby Club, yes.
Thank you.
John Kaczynski, he is a great player. You know, he's really come on strong. He's been a member of the Utah All-Star team and performed very well there. He was able to break a couple tackles, get the ball underneath the post and touch it down, which gives Highland an easily makeable conversion kick worth 2 extra points. You know, a lot of times when they score a try, it might be on the sideline, and the kicker has to take the kick from the sideline, making it much more difficult.
So wherever he touches down is where the angle they're going to have to kick.
That's correct.
The point after.
Yeah, and I wish that we would be able to put something like that into football, because how many PATs are missed every year, right?
Exactly. Getting
One.
it from the middle of the 3-yard line.
I mean, it got so bad that Doug Flutie decides to just drop goal one because it's so easy.
The drop kick. You know, Jim McMahon was really good at that. I don't know if he played rugby up at Roy High School or not, but he was pretty good at that back in the day.
A little bit down at BYU. BYU's had a program down there for many years.
Yeah, very good. And then a little difference between American football and rugby. You score, you're getting the ball back.
That's right.
So 7-0 to lead here at Highland. 5:30 mark here in the first half. And we're under control. This was Sam Brookham that took the kick. And then going to try to punt it down. And it'll be controlled by Union. And Kaczynski, who just had the try, will come up with the stop. And Union will begin to set up.
Oh, hit his own player in the back with the kick.
Now, the ball is live at all times, because once it's put into play, it's live. Obviously, you have an immediate line that is formed. I guess you call it a line of scrimmage in football, but a line that will draw offsides, onsides. And once that ball is in play, it is live, correct?
That is correct, yeah. And that line in rugby is normally referred to as the gain line, and you do have offsides lines. Now, in a ruck, the offsides line is going to be the hindmost foot of the last player in the ruck. With a scrum, they just initiated new rules where you have to stay 5 meters behind the last foot in the scrum. So you'll see Highland is lined up 5 meters behind their last man's foot. Same with Union. That last call here, why they gave it back to Highland, was obstruction. There's no blocking in rugby. And obstruction is similar to a block. The Union player ran behind one of his own players, creating a deflection. The referee blew the whistle, gave the ball back to Highland.
Now, one question, Mike. When you have the clock obviously running up, is there any type of injury time like you see with soccer or anything of that nature?
It's exactly like soccer.
And we got another chance coming down the right side. And he won't quite break the tackle, and then he does dive in. Are they going to give him a try or not?
He's going to check with his touch judge here and see what his touch judge has to say. It doesn't look like he's going to give the try. He's going to award a scrum back over to Union.
Union can try to get the ball away, but they have to play on the side of the play line, correct?
That's correct. You cannot cross over into the other team's line. That would be offsides.
So Highland, I believe, does have control. And they're very close already, leading 7-0, 8:50.
Long pass.
And
tried to skip 2 players out wide.
And they got a chance going down the sideline. And he's tackled just shy of the try line.
If you take it out of bounds, you're giving the ball to the other team. The only exception there is on a penalty.
Highland gets the ball on the line.
He scored.
On line toss, and there's a try for Highland. So 9:30, and I didn't get the number on that to see exactly who got the try. But it'll be a 12-0 lead here for Highland.
And this is what we were talking about, where he touched the ball down closer to the sideline. This is going to be a tougher kick for the kicker.
So obviously you want it. As soon as you cross the try line, it's not until the ball is touched down that they finally call it. And that try was scored by Levi Card.
But for a forward to kick, he must have an incredible leg.
And Brookham goes up for the kick. And it'll be controlled by Highland. Highland come here near side. They'll pitch it back, now make a move back inside the 22-meter line. And now again, this is Kaczynski. Kaczynski did have a try early on. Now, as we go down the field, Highland, say they control the whole time. Now, they're going to kick it away. there's not a number of plays for them to go down the field, correct?
That's correct. There is a version called Rugby League, which is like that, where you have an X amount of downs, and you have to release the ball once you go past that amount of downs. This is Rugby Union. This is a little bit more free playing. If you want the ball, you have to earn it. You have to go out and get it.
I like that.
I do too.
I really do. I think when you see if a team is moving the ball, why would they lose it? Now, there is a line in, and it was controlled by Highland. We had to stop. I think this is what becomes confusing, is understanding why that didn't work. We saw some scrums that have been blown dead as well throughout this match.
Right. There are a number of reasons why the referee would say that the line out was not good. Number one, I think in this case, they didn't open the tunnel. You have to leave a tunnel between the two teams as they line up.
And that was controlled by Brookham. And we'll see a Highland. Here we go. Coming near side.
Almost a hospital pass there.
And that was Orden Tuai. And now here's a pitch out. Coming down the near side, looking back. He does get it back, and I got another chance here for Highland in for the try. And now again, going to try to get it behind the post for the conversion, and there it is with a touchdown. And that is Brickham Tukukino scoring the try for the Highland Rams, their third of the half at the 12:40 mark. About that range, about 12:36 is about when he crossed, and he touched down. It's about 12:38, and it's a 19-0 lead here for Highland. And Sam Brookham on for the conversion, and this should be pretty easy, especially after the angle he just took.
Right, this should be easy.
And Brookham puts it between them. So 21-0 the lead for Highland.
Highland is a very, very good program. They've been at it for a long time, 35th year they're in now. They have a ton of depth, over 200 kids registered with their team this year. They have defeated all the other teams easily, but their best competition is here with United.
Now, Utah County United, how young is that program?
That program has been around for just about a decade.
Okay.
And they've really upped their game. This is their fourth appearance in nationals this year.
And that is Micah Hafolka across the 22-meter line.
That scrum half is throwing that ball with laser beam accuracy.
And there's another move out across midfield, across the 22-meter line of Union, and finally brought down. I believe that was Bloomfield. Bloomfield quickly trying to keep it alive. Now here comes Highland, again making a move. And I believe this is, yes, Ordain Tuai.
I think he goes by Danny.
And there's a kick forward. That could be controlled by Highland. And Union controls it. And again, that might have been Highland trying to get the ball closer to their try line.
Right. That would have been a smart option for the Union player to call Mark in that situation, which is similar to a fair catch. Had he called Mark, Highland wouldn't have been able to tackle him and drive them back any further.
So Union in control.
A penalty here for not releasing. The tackler must release the ball carrier when he tackles him. If he doesn't do that, it's a penalty. So Union got the ball back and again does not get the ball out of bounds on a penalty.
Now controlled by Highland. That was Tana Afiaki of West High School, one of the better tailbacks in the state of Utah.
He's an incredible athlete.
And here's Union. And it's harder to see the Union numbers from this distance.
Yes, it is.
It's pretty nice to see the Highland black and white. Being a Raider fan, I know how that works. And Union in control, Union in their green uniforms.
Yeah, I think they tried to offset it. What is that, brown on their back of their jerseys? But it still isn't working.
It's not working. And we're trying to see it from our broadcast position, which is gorgeous. This is a beautiful day. It was a little overcast before this game started. The 11 o'clock game was a little more overcast, and the clouds are beginning to break. It is absolutely gorgeous here today.
Better soak it in today, because tomorrow may be a different story.
That might be. Again, another terrific run from Highland out across the midfield, and that was Moises Perazza.
You know, Union looks like they just want no part of tackling Highland right now. They're putting their head down. They're diving at feet. They're not using correct form. Looks like we have another penalty here going over to Union. Penalty here looks like it was called for leaving his feet. You have to stay on your feet.
You can't leap forward.
Right. The game of rugby is meant to be played on your feet. In the ruck, when you have players coming in and just diving in, trying to take somebody's head off, that's illegal. You can't do that. We need to be able to protect the players on the field as much as possible.
That ball goes through the back of the field. So will be a scrum at the
22-meter line.
22-meter line. Now, Mike, you from the local area. Now, this is the first time to go through this. Now, where'd you play your rugby?
I played rugby for Highland, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Everybody plays for Highland.
I know, it seems that way, doesn't it? I followed in the footsteps of my older brother, John, who came and played rugby for Highland. We both had the opportunity to play in multiple national championships and learn of the Highland coaching philosophy. It really has made an impact in both of our lives. It's a great program.
Now, Mike, you also coach at BYU, is that correct?
Actually, no. Right now, I'm within the presidency of the Utah Rugby Union, and we oversee all rugby that happens in the state of Utah.
And it'll be controlled by Union. Now, tomorrow we'll have a treat in the championship game at Highland and Union Macon. We'll have all that coverage right here for every game that's played at Rio Tinto for both Utah County United and obviously Highland. And we could possibly have yourself and Kimball with us on that championship game, which will be a treat for these fans to hear.
That would be great. Kimball knows rugby so well. He has had the opportunity, not only is he a coach of national contender BYU, but he also has played for the United States Eagles team. He has international experience. Very, very good person to have calling a game.
8:26 into this. Now, I believe we're playing 30-minute halves. Is that correct? Or what's our half mark?
I believe they're going to be 22.5-minute halves. USA Rugby has a rule that players under the age of 19 cannot exceed a certain amount of minutes in one day.
Breaking into the open field, they got another chance for another try. Tana Afiaki. He is in for the try for Highland, and he'll down it right in the middle of the post. And Tana, just as we saw him do for the West Panthers this season, breaking into the open field using his elusiveness. And it's another try for Highland. Their lead now stretches out 26-0.
That elusive speed that you just mentioned is so accurate. We took him out to Colorado and California last year for Rugby All-Stars, and he did the same thing to All-Stars from every state you could imagine. And when I saw Union in the hotel last night, I looked at these boys, and there are some big fellas out there, and I thought, we're going to have a game tomorrow. But Highland, in Highland fashion, is wearing them down.
Now it's controlled by Brookham off the kickoff. And here comes Highland. The pass gets away. And now we're going to try to get it back to the wide side of the field.
There he goes again.
Tana, he has so much fun. I think they're going to catch him with the forward pass. They did not seem to be side. Almost got away. It almost seemed like it started to bend back a little bit before the catch was made, but I think they're going to get him with the forward pass.
Right, and that referee made that call. It was a forward pass. He made that call from behind the play. He must have vision that the rest of us don't have.
Almost like seeing a basketball official calling a foul in the NBA at midcourt.
We saw that plenty with the Jazz and Nuggets, didn't we?
I wasn't going to make reference, but yes.
I have no allegiance to Denver.
21-minute mark. We're nearing here halftime, and it'll be a Union scrum. Union trying to make something happen here before halftime, maybe to get a little bit of a spark coming back in for the second half.
Coming in from the side there. Every time you come into a ruck, you have to come directly from the back. That player for Highland came in from the side, and so that's a penalty now for Union. See if they can get it out of bounds this time. And they did. This
time they do. We'll put it into the third row here at Rio Tinto Stadium. And what a gorgeous sight to see a rugby game. It really is. This is gorgeous.
It's incredible to have rugby in this stadium. We've had it a couple of times when the United States Eagles played Uruguay, and the second team played the New Zealand Heartland team, which was a fun event. Obviously, the state championship for rugby was held here last year. Yeah. It's become a rugby-friendly venue. Hopefully, tomorrow in the championship game, we'll see some more fans in the seats. It's going to be a good, fun atmosphere.
Now we're at the 22-minute mark. I believe we'll get to the 22:30 and we'll have halftime.
Right. Now the official time is kept by the referee. So even though the clock will show that time has expired, the halftime is blown when the referee decides.
Okay. So what's taken into account of that? Is that kind of like injury time?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, injury time, there's always some instruction where the referee needs to speak to the players. Let's say tempers are getting out of control. He'd like to calm down the team, so he'll call both captains over to him and have a talk. The clock will keep running on the board, but his won't.
And we're going to be right at the mark at 22:30. Now, is he communicating what that time will be?
He will give the players a warning. Usually he'll say 1 minute. 30 seconds, give the players a warning so they know what they're faced with, because that'll change tactics for a team if they want to try and get a score in before half. Union right now would benefit just from getting on the board, even if it comes in the penalty kick.
And now we are in what we would call officials' time.
Another penalty here. Obstruction. Now he's going to probably give another penalty.
Yeah, Brookham kicked the ball after he had blown the whistle.
It's not very often that you see an obstruction call on the defense.
Now, this is a pretty tough angle. You think they're going to try to kick it?
Doesn't look like it. I think what they're going to do is this guy is going to tap it to his foot to put the ball back in play and give it to one of his charging players.
And there's a hard hit. I believe that was
Tana
Afiaki.
So not only can he run, but he can hit.
He can hit. He played safety as well. And here's Union, the best chance they've had all day long to get on the board. Union nearing the 5-meter line. They'll pitch it out. Now pitch it back.
That's
the ball
is
loose, and they'll go back to Highland.
And he'll just blow it for halftime here. Rather than give Highland the ball on a penalty deep in the territory, he'll say that's enough.
All right, what a half is in here. And Highland leads Union High School 28-0 at halftime. We'll step aside. We'll be back with the second half right after this break. All right, Dusty Lister back with Mike Law. We're at halftime. Highland leads 28-0. And Mike, this was just an absolutely dominating half for a Highland rugby team. They have absolutely dominated physically. Now, obviously on the scoreboard, does Union have any chance in this game?
I really don't see that Union is going to do anything in this game. Union is not dedicated enough to the cause. What's happening is Highland is beating them in every phase of the game. Highland is not committing too many people to the ruck, and they're blowing them over. They're winning their scrums, they're winning their lineouts, and they're picking good angles. And so Highland is able to find gaps on the field and easily score tries.
Now, most of these tries have been scored from long distance. Tana Afiaki had a very long try. We also had a couple others that were a little bit longer than what you normally see. That's just a sign of a team being much more superior in their passing game and really in staying what's what I'm looking for? I want to say dedicated, but really just disciplined in their lines and everything they're doing.
Right. Well, what we've seen is the scrum half and the fly half for Highland have had very, very good passes. They're covering quite a distance with their passes, and they're hitting their players on target. You know, in football, we call it right on the numbers. That's what's happening here. Also, Union is getting beaten at the breakdown, at the rucks, and so they're committing more of their players to win the ball, which creates overlaps. You know, they're outmanned when it comes wide. So Highland is able to spread the field wide.
Now, what can we expect to see from Highland in the second half? Having very much in control of this game, what can we expect from them in the second half?
I think we're going to see some reserves for Highland because they're going to play another game this afternoon. They're going to want to take some of their starters out. One of the stars was Tana Afiaki. I don't imagine him playing the whole second half. They're going to pull some out. We're going to see Highland continue to go because Highland has the philosophy, it's not our job to stop our offense, it's yours.
All right, well, there's our thoughts. We'll be back with a second half action right after this. And welcome back inside Rio Tinto Stadium. Dusty Lister and Mike Law. We are set for the second half. Highland leads 28-0, and they'll begin the half with the ball. You know, Mike, we just got done talking about our halftime things, and we expect, you know, Highland's thought is, hey, you got to stop our offense. We're not going to shut it down. We're just going to keep playing our game. And for Union, they had a little bit of a deer in the headlights look, and it'll be interesting to see the second half what kind of team comes out for Union High School.
It's a tough draw for Union to get Highland number one. You know, Union is the 8th seed in the U19 division. Highland's obviously the number 1 seed. And so when you have to play these guys and also travel such a distance to get here.
Yeah, all the way out from New Jersey.
Yes.
To make that flight. I've done that before. It is quite the taxing thing to come back across the United States.
They've got a lot of things going against them. A long flight, altitude, and the number 1 team in the nation.
Yeah, pretty much. And they get to sleep in their own beds.
That's right.
You're sleeping in a hotel, which I imagine, you know, the USA Rugby's taking care of. They're not exactly staying at the shanty suites. They're the Highland being able to be home and eat their poi and drink coffee the night before.
That's right. That's a funny tradition, drinking so much kava before a game. Sits heavy in the stomach. You know, some of these teams have actually decided to make this trip memorable and worth it. The Belmont Shore team from California actually rented some condos up in Park City, so they went all out for this thing.
Oh, wow. That's a budget,
to
say the least.
I guess that's a successful car wash.
Kepu Laudy will put it in the scrum.
Yeah, see, he's the replacement scrum half here. Highland has made some substitutions, give some of their guys some rest for their upcoming game where they will face the winner of the last match, which was Katy, Texas.
No, also much mentioned that the Utah County United, they're playing on Field 2 which is off, I believe, I can't remember what name of the park, so they're off of the other field, and they played at 11. So I haven't heard word if they won or not. Maybe you might know.
I haven't either. I've been looking forward to an update. They're playing over there at Mount Jordan Middle School, just east of the Jordan Common movie theaters. They're looking forward to winning and coming back in over to the Rio Tinto Stadium.
So a little bit of a blood time there. All right, so after a little bit of blood time, we're back. And so obviously that'll be kept by the official, and will be added on here at the end of this half. As Louty will put it in play. So, now in your rugby, when you're looking inside that shift a little bit, and Louty pulls it out. And brought down at midfield, and again the big charge from Highland, breaking out into the open. And then finally brought down just outside about the 27-meter mark. Oh, then Union takes the ball back over. And I believe that was Tavita Bloomfield. What a monster coming through the middle.
He is. You know, Highland has some very large backs. Number 12 there, looks like his name is Patrick Taranto. He is really hard to bring down, the size of his legs alone. You know, you try to go low on him, you might miss some teeth.
Bloomfield's had some nice runs here thus far in this game. 25, we're about the 26-minute mark overall time. Now official time, we're probably only about 2.5 minutes into this half, because we did have that blood timeout. We do have some instruction being taken place. You know what's interesting, Mike, being kind of a novice to being in rugby, is you take a look at the schedules and the way that everything's set up. It's on the hour. You know, I coach baseball, and I also play football. I mean, there's no way you could run it and know they're going to be within the hour. But these kids are also going to play 2 games in one day.
That's right. Yeah.
They played 2 yesterday, or they played the 1 yesterday, pardon me.
Actually, today's the first day of the tournament, and so this is the very first game that they've had in this USA National Championship. They'll play 2 games today. If they win both of those, then they move on to the championship game tomorrow night. I believe it's 7:30.
7:30. Mm-hmm. Now, I had just seen a lineup. Maybe it was a high school or whatever. It was a different lineup that was played yesterday. So, again, kind of looking at stuff that I wasn't quite aware of coming into the tournament for the first time.
Yeah, it's very hard to play games back-to-back because the body takes such a beating in these rugby games. Not only are you running constantly, but you're pushing, you're tackling, you know, you're kicking. So it takes a real toll on the body.
Bloomfield again just lowers the shoulder. And Highland pushing once again. That was Micah Hofoka. They'll pitch it back. Nice job by Union coming and getting him. And now breaking again inside that 22-meter line. That was number 5, Matthew Jensen. The easiest name we've said all day long besides Levi Card.
That's right.
Breaking out of another tackle. That was Kepu Lauti. And action getting picked up here. I guess what you call this second unit for Highland, just not going to back down. They keep pushing. That was Hofoka.
They've gone to more of a forwards game here in the second half. I think they really want to give their forwards an opportunity to push and give a run to these boys, because in the first half, Highland was dominated by their backs play.
Now we'll have a scrum. Is this going to be a Union scrum?
I believe this is going to be a Union scrum. Union is going to want to get this ball out quickly and clear it out of their territory. So look for them to do a kick here. I think they'd be pretty foolish to run it because of Highland's stout defense.
Though their kicking game is kind of, I want to say, let them down a little bit today, but it hasn't been the strong point early on in the match. You were talking about trying to pin the ball out of bounds and leaving the ball in the middle of open play for Highland to set their line and get going.
Right, yet I think Union's going to look back at this game with quite a bit of regret, because you know that they're a better team than this. I think you're right when you said the deer in the headlights look. This is a very tall task for them. And it's the first time many of their players have made it to the national tournament, so there are probably some nerves that have come into play.
You know, I wonder if you're coming into a tournament like this and you've never played Highland before. I don't know if these kids have played Highland before, maybe years prior or what have you. But you know the movies made about them. You know, you probably watch it because you're a rugby player. There's not very many rugby movies made. But you know these kids weren't exactly on the movie portrayed, but it's a team that's obviously got tradition. You know who they are. It's not like you're going to get away from understanding who they are, especially if you're a national challenging moment or team. Just to kind of go in you can't blame these young kids from having a deer in the headlight look maybe a little bit.
Not at all. Highland does not change their tactic from one year to the next. They keep it consistent, and that's part of what keeps the train moving in such a positive direction. That movie, Forever Strong, was really, really beneficial and instrumental in getting so many players out to Highland. They have, like I said, over 200 players registered this year. It was a fun movie to be a part of, which I actually had the opportunity to be a part of it. And it was just a really, really good experience. We can talk more about the actors' experience on that in just a little bit.
And there's a bad pass. Highland going to take it. They picked it up, and you saw Union again, just not wanting a part of what was going on. There's a pitch to the outside, and another try for the Highland Rams. And I believe number 11, that was Edward Moley. And Moley finally touches down. I believe he got it behind the post. It'll be an easy should be an easy conversion.
Should be. Now,
but Brookham left.
Yeah, they took out Brookham, who was 100% on kicks for the day. But like we said, Tana Afiaki, he's no slouch.
Now, they're going to bring it out more to the outside. I didn't notice he touched it so far out.
You see where the referee is standing. That is the mark that the kicker must take the kick from. If he varies on that, the referee will bring him back.
Now, they've been 100%. Brookham was in the first half. In all the tries, or pardon me, in all the conversions. So here's Afiaki, a little bit off-centered here to the left. Or sorry, on the angle here to the left. And 33-0, the lead for Highland. Afiaki, that is wide to the left.
Yeah, I guess there is a difference.
Why Brookham was handling all the conversions. So 33-0, the lead for Highland, the 31-15 mark here in the second half.
Highland is sending a statement to the rest of the tournament teams that they're here and they mean business. If you're going to take a championship away from them in their own backyard, you really better bring a big dog.
Now, how many times has the national championship been held here in Utah?
There were some national championships held at Cottonwood High School back in the 80s. Most recently, we had the national championships at the Murray Rugby Stadium in 2007, where we set a record for high school attendance in one game. We had over 4,000 spectators for the final. That was between Highland and Jesuit of California right before they made the split between the two divisions.
That's right. I do remember that being advertised. I have a good friend that was part of that. Tony Parks was a big part of doing the PA and different things.
That's right. Yeah, I remember Tony. He was on that microphone all day.
So Highland will have a scrum here at midfield. Again, we mentioned just absolutely dominating this game. And I don't know that Highland's lost this year. And again, trying to find information has been a little tough.
Highland has not lost this year. In fact, their closest game that they've had in quite some time was this year, and that was against United from Utah County. That game determined who got the #1 seed into nationals. Highland won it at a last-second try, and they won the game 18-17.
Oh, wow.
United had them on the ropes.
Now,
very entertaining.
It was interesting because, you know, again, just trying to understand rugby here in Utah. I mean, it's such a strong Polynesian base now down in Utah County that obviously is going to be pushing how good that team is down there. But also seeing that this tournament is set up for Highland and United to play in the championship game.
Right, the way that is set up is because the last 2, I think maybe 3 years in a row, the championship game has been between Highland and United. And so when you do that, and those two teams make it into the tournament again, they retain the #1 and #2 seeds. And just like in any bracket system, the #1 seed is up high and the #2 seed is down low. If they keep winning, they get to face each other in the championship again.
It was interesting because you get on the website and you start to read about the setup, and it said that the tournament is set up for that to happen. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yes.
Afiaki, nice move. He pitches it back. Oh, they're going to get him with a
forward
forward pass. Afiaki, this is the second time. You have your own opinion about where you thought that ball was, but they're going to.
It's unfortunate. I was looking forward to seeing Edward Moley run with that ball because that kid has such a burst. His quickness is only rivaled maybe by Tana Afiaki. And so with those two in the back line, really, really difficult for these teams to stop them.
Now, Moley, is he the Moley family? He had a brother who played Cottonwood football, Aldo Moley.
Yeah, I believe so. Highland, even though they are named Highland Rugby, draw athletes from all over the valley because it is a club sport. You can choose to play for whoever you'd like.
It'd just be surprising to see more East High School kids going over to play for Highland. Here's a pitch back, And Highland with
Oh,
another
good
opportunity.
move.
Nice
Oh!
He loses the ball, lost control, and it's picked up by Union. I believe that was Jensen.
Yeah, Cody Jensen.
And he's going to be a little frustrated to be able to get a try in the national tournament. And he was in the open field. He made a terrific move. And then quickly here, Highland trying to get on the offensive.
Highland didn't hear the referee's whistle, which he called for a knock-on. Like we said before, you can't knock the ball forward or drop it forward. So Highland did a quick line out here, got blown back to the referee. He's going to award a scrum to Union.
Oh, but poor Jensen. He was in the open field, and it was William Headley that picked up the ball for Union. But he'll see that all night long. He was having visions of that as he was lying in bed last night.
He was.
Making the move, getting into the open field, and he was going to touch down or get the try and put it down, and you can tell that. He was shocked that he was going to get in the open.
I think that's what dropped the ball, is the surprise. Like, I can't believe I'm out in the open like this. He put on a great move.
Do you remember your first try?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I was actually a bigger back. Back when I started playing rugby, I was 6'2" and 210 pounds, and so I was a bigger back than most. And I remember scoring that first try. It was actually off of what's called a grubber kick, where you kick the ball on the ground and it bounces back up into your arms. I was able to do that and score down in the corner. It was a lot of fun.
I don't think it's funny. In any sport, it doesn't matter. You always remember the first one.
Oh, yeah.
Who was it
Especially if you're a
against?
lineman. It was against Murray Rugby Club, who now goes by the name Wasatch.
Okay. Now the 36-minute mark, about 36:15. We'll have some officials' time. We'll probably run to about, I would imagine, about 48 minutes. With about how much the blood time we had and some little bit, will you take the instruction time. And again, Highland threatening inside the 5-meter line. Is he going to get across? I believe he did. And that's another try for Highland. And I believe it was number 3 for the Highland team. And that would be
That was
Douglas
Doug
Ferris.
Ferris. That was a great run, running over a few tacklers in his path. Nothing was going to stop him.
Ferris, this is from an angle. So another tough kick. I believe, will Tana take it? Didn't see if he ran out or not.
This is about the same angle, just on the other side of the field from his last miss. So let's see if he can redeem himself.
Would you think it would be tougher because being right-footed, having to get a bend on this
Yes.
a little bit more?
I think he can nail it.
So he'll take it from the 22-meter line. And Tana Afiaki for the conversion. Highland now leads 38-0. Looking to get it to 40. Get a pretty good foot on it. I believe he got it.
No.
No, is it a wide again?
Yeah, he struck it well, but it didn't get through.
I guess tougher and tougher with the angle.
Yes, it is.
To
And that's
see where that goes
why
through.
it's always best to score right underneath the post. You know, but it is dangerous when you do that, because even though you're in the end zone, you're not out of the woods. The other team can come and you knock it out of your hands and you didn't score.
Now explain that. Say you score a try, you're past the try line, you're in the end zone, if you will. You're trying to get toward the middle. Now they tackle you. Is going to count, or is it? How does that change?
If they tackle you and you do not put the ball on the ground, the ref will blow it back, saying what's called it's held up. And so that's not a try. You have to touch the ball down to the ground and maintain control of it while you're doing it. So even though you're in the end zone, you have not scored until you touch that ball down on the ground.
Okay. So now, say you're running back there, he tackles you, and you tackle forward, and you put the ball down. Is that going to be called a held up, or is that going to be
No,
called
as
a try?
long as you touch the ball down on the ground and the opposing player doesn't put his hand between the ball and the ground, you've scored the try.
And the Highland kicks that out of bounds. We'll see where they mark it. That'll be closer to midfield than where the ball went out.
There's only about a 7-meter kick. You know, at this age group, it's very hard to find a kicker who can kick for distance and accuracy at the same time. Usually these guys possess one or the other.
Afiaki pitching it back, and there's an opportunity again. Bloomfield pitches it back, and the ball is mishandled. It'll be controlled by Highland, or pardon me, by Union. And I believe the mishandle came from, it was number 14 for Highland. That was Brigham Tukino, and Brigham scored that touchdown early on. Or pardon me, touchdown. Try early on in the game.
Yes, try.
Nearing the 40-minute mark, we'll have a Union scrum.
Looks to me like Highland has made a tactical move by moving Louty out to the fly half and moving somebody else into scrum half on a defensive scrum. Maybe they feel that this guy can get in and disrupt the pass a little bit better.
We'll try to get a number as soon as we see him come out for you. Now, you can angle the scrum to any direction you want. Is that correct? Well, you're seeing it starting to shift a little bit.
Yeah, what will happen is they have to go in straight. Teams will try to wheel the scrum. And when they wheel the scrum 90 degrees, they've basically forced a turnover. The referee blows his whistle, gives the ball back to the other team. So you want to push. You see how the scrum is wheeling to the left there. It's because Highland's a little bit stronger in their scrum.
Union trying to kick it forward out toward midfield and picked up. I believe this is Jensen. Jensen finally brought down. And now just a big charge from the big fella, and that's George Haymuli.
Now he's calling leaving your feet there, diving in. So he's going to give the ball back to Union.
I believe coming in late, that would have been, Matt Jensen. There's a kick will be controlled by Union. An errant pass picked up by Union and trying to leave it in. Now they're going to call him out of bounds, I believe.
Yep. So we're going to have a Highland line out here on Union's end of the field. It seems like this game has been played in Union territory the whole time.
Highland certainly kept their foot down.
They sure have. They're not letting up on the gas, even with some of these reserve players in here. They've got incredible depth.
Oh, here's a big play for Union. Lifted and brought down on the tackle for Highland. That was number 14. I'm looking for a number here real quick. That was Brigham Tukakino.
And he may get a yellow card on this.
Because he lifted him?
Yeah, you cannot lift a player and drive him into the ground. Now, if he gives a yellow card for this, I'm going to disagree with him. I don't think that there was any malicious intent on that tackle. I think he should be warned for it because it can be dangerous play. And I think he'll do that just to send a statement of how the rest of the tournament's going to be called.
And they're obviously bringing in the captain to talk to him about it.
Captains play a very important role in rugby. They're the skipper on the field. The referees talk directly to them, and the captains are responsible for controlling their players.
So John Kaczynski is the captain for Highland on the field. Kaczynski had a quick little word.
Yeah, it looks like it was just a warning, no yellow card there. If he gets a yellow card, he's put into what's called the sin bin, much like the penalty box in hockey.
The actual name is sin bin.
It is.
I like that.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
That's right. You love rugby for its honesty.
Browning going to throw it. That might be the first or second Union name we've had a chance to call today. Now, a lot of that due to the fact that Highland is absolutely dominated. And another part of it is we haven't been able to see the numbers nearly as well, but also Highland has dominated every facet of the game today.
They sure have. You know, possession has been about an 80-20 split. Highland has held on to the ball about 80% of the game. Fancy footwork there.
That was a nice move, and I believe that was Jordan Johnson, number 18 for Union. You heard a call. He wanted to come near side. Haymuli misses a tackle, come back near side where they wanted to come originally for the call. They pitch it back. This is Johnson, and Johnson be held up near midfield.
Looks like a forward pass called again here for Union, so we're going to go scrum back to Highland.
So just it seemed that Union was going to get something going.
It looks like Union has brought in some fresh legs, and they're eager to do something.
I think they're frustrated with what they saw from their teammates.
They may
saying,
have
what
been.
are you being intimidated with? And because they'll continue to play. This is not a one-and-done situation. They will play later.
They will. And the frustrating part for these guys is Union coaches may have thought they had a better opportunity in this game, so they may have sat some of their stronger players in this first game, saving them for the rest of the tournament. Kind of backfired because Highland has played so well. Now, I think that would be a coaching mistake going against Highland. I would say you need to be full bore on that. So some of these reserves coming in for Union really want their opportunity to show what they can do.
Now, just to explain the layout of the tournament, this is not a come through the losers bracket, get a double elimination in the championship. You've got to continue to win. So you win tonight, like Highland wins today here at the noon game. They will play at 4:30 in the semifinal game. Now they win that, they play tomorrow night at 7:30 for Union. They'll lose, and I believe they go through and they'll play an earlier game this afternoon. Then if they win, they'll play in a consolation game set for tomorrow afternoon.
That's right. Every team will still get 3 games. It just depends on what you're playing for at that point, whether you're playing for a trophy or playing for pride.
And now you'll also have 3 tournaments running this weekend.
That's correct.
We have the U19 tournament that we're watching right now. You have a high school tournament, and then the girls' rugby championship is also going at the same time.
That's right, the girls' U19 division, which is actually featuring another local Utah team out of Lowlands from West Jordan, Utah. It's fun to see 4 local teams make it into the national tournament.
Well, it's interesting because it is I guess you don't want to call it a black market sport, but it kind of is. It goes unnoticed. It doesn't necessarily, there's a little bit of a draw, and you do understand it just a little bit more. But it is something that people don't realize is such a strength in the state of Utah, because it's not football, it's not baseball, it's not one of these mainstream sports. It is something that goes a little bit different, being an English type of sport.
That's right. Varsity status is everything in American sports. If you have it at your high school, then it's popular. If it's not at your high school, then it's kind of it's just an unknown. But we do have a strong rugby community here in Utah. Just in the last year alone, we've doubled in size to nearly 1,800 registered members.
Wow.
It's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Which is funny because almost every sport will say that. I've heard that from lacrosse pundits, and people try to get lacrosse coverage. That, hey, we're the fastest growing sport in the West. Here's Haymuli. Haymuli charges forward.
And there is something to be said about that. Lacrosse has grown incredibly, but there's a big difference between being the fastest growing in the West and fastest growing in the world.
Yeah.
If you look at the viewership of the last Rugby World Cup, they had over 40 million viewers.
Wow. That's absolutely. And then and I think you can tell the popularity by all of the stories coming out now. You talk about Forever Strong, Invictus. I mean, Clint Eastwood goes and directs that movie. It wasn't like Jim Johnson decided to pick up and do an indie flick. I mean, it was quite the movie.
It was
quite moving, and kind of get you interested and start watching. I know I went home and started watching a little bit more of the FCS channels and then getting deeper into my Fox World channels.
Right, you kind of have to dig for it a little bit.
Which is a little different. I have a brother that was in South Africa during the World Cup time, and so as a young kid I started watching a little bit more. Wouldn't say that it became a fascination, became something I was interested in. And we are at the 45-minute mark, so we are into that, I guess what we call officials time. And you wouldn't think that he would go to the exact amount he probably has in his mind, simply because this match is over.
This match is out of reach for Union, so he'll blow the whistle a little bit early, more than likely here. His main focus, even though it's to call the game and officiate the rules of the game, is to maintain safety. So if he feels that the game is getting a little bit heated, out of control, he'll blow it early. He's calling penalty there for not releasing. Once the ball player is tackled, he must release the ball. Looks like he called another penalty for delaying the game.
I believe that was number 21 for Highland. That was Kepulauti.
He's going to give another penalty here for picking up the player.
Highland come a little unloose here at the end.
And this is what I was talking about. If the referee feels the game's getting a little bit out of control or heated, he may choose to end it early.
Oh, why is that play? That was called across the field. And that is our game. Now let's get your final thoughts, your overall thoughts of how Highland played today, and also looking forward to this afternoon.
Look out. The rest of the teams in the tournament got to look out for Highland. They came to play, and they wanted to make a statement here, doing it 38-0 against a team that won the Northeast Championship. I mean, they've had rugby in New York and New Jersey for a long, long time, and for this team to come out here and get beaten 38-0 is a real testament to how good Highland is.
Again, our final score, the Highland Rugby team, 38, Union 0. They will move on, speaking of Highland, to play later this afternoon at 4:30. All your coverage can be followed right here on Comcast On Demand. For Mike Law, I'm Dusty Litster. Thanks for joining us.